Venezuela. When you hear that name, you might think of beautiful beaches, thick jungles, and huge mountains. Angel Falls, the tallest waterfall in the world, flows down from giant cliffs. The amazing Amazon rainforest is full of life. The Andes Mountains create a stunning background. This is Venezuela's natural gift, a land filled with incredible beauty. But behind this beautiful picture is a scary truth. Venezuela is struggling with a terrible situation. A really bad economic crisis has hurt the country, leaving millions of people trying hard just to live. Food and medicine are hard to find. Hospitals are struggling to stay open. Super high inflation has made the money almost worthless. It's a shocking contrast. Amazing landscapes next to scenes of sadness and hopelessness. How did a country with so many natural resources fall so far? How did this paradise get lost? Stay with me if you want to know more. Venezuela used to be a very successful country in Latin America. Oil, discovered in the early 1900s, changed everything. Venezuela has the world's biggest known oil reserves, a potential source of lots of money. During the 1970s oil boom, Venezuela's economy grew really fast. People lived better than ever before. People from all over the world came to Venezuela looking for opportunities and a share of the new wealth. But this good time didn't last. Instead of using the oil money wisely, corrupt governments wasted it on programs that couldn't continue and fancy lifestyles. Depending so much on oil made Venezuela vulnerable when world oil prices changed. When oil prices dropped in the 1980s, so did Venezuela's economy. This started decades of instability and decline. The promise of a great life started to fall apart. Weakened by corruption, bad management, and relying too much on one thing: oil. The problems Venezuela has today started a long time ago with years of political trouble and lots of corruption. Coups, riots, and social unrest happened again and again. When Hugo Chávez came to power in 1999, things changed. He was charismatic but also caused division. Chávez promised a Bolivarian revolution and put in place socialist policies to share the wealth and help poor people. While these policies were popular at first, they were poorly executed and full of corruption. Taking over private businesses scared away investors and hurt productivity. Controlling prices led to shortages. The economy, already weak, started to get even worse. Chávez's successor, Nicolás Maduro, took over a country in big trouble. He became even more authoritarian and repressive, silencing anyone who disagreed with him and taking more power. Unsurprisingly, the economy crashed. Super high inflation went through the roof. Basic things such as sugar, salt, milk became luxuries that few could afford. Venezuela's fall into chaos had begun. The weight of the world, international influence, and geopolitics. Venezuela's crisis isn't just a local problem. Other countries, in both good and bad ways, have impacted Venezuela. The United States, long concerned about Chávez's socialist policies and friendship with Cuba, has placed sanctions on Venezuela, hurting its economy even more. Russia and China, wanting to counter U.S. influence in the area, have helped Maduro's government with money and political support. This support, while helpful in some ways, has also been criticized for keeping an authoritarian government in power and stopping democratic progress. Venezuela has become a piece in a global game of chess, and its people are caught in the middle. The world faces a tough question: how to help the Venezuelan people without making the authoritarian government stronger. The situation is still uncertain, with no easy answers. Voices from the abyss. Personal stories of struggle and resilience. Behind the numbers and political speeches are millions of personal tragedies. Regular Venezuelans have suffered the most from this crisis. Their lives have been turned upside down by poverty, hunger, and violence. Maria, a single mom of two, used to be a nurse in a busy hospital in Caracas. Now she looks for food in garbage dumps, desperate to feed her kids. Carlos, a retired teacher, spends his days waiting in long lines at empty pharmacies, hoping to find medicine for his sick wife. He remembers a time when Venezuela offered a good life, when education was important, and people had hope for the future. Now he sees his country falling apart, his dreams disappearing. These stories, repeated over and over, show the heartbreaking human cost of Venezuela's crisis. Yet even with all these hardships, the Venezuelan people still have hope. They are incredibly strong, finding strength in their communities and believing that a better future is possible. A glimmer of hope. The fight for a brighter future. Even with all the huge challenges, there is still some hope in Venezuela. A strong group of citizens, though constantly threatened, continues to fight for democracy and human rights. Activists, journalists, and regular people risk their lives every day to expose corruption, show the bad things happening, and demand change. The international community, though divided, is more and more willing to provide aid and support democratic forces. The International Criminal Court's investigation into crimes against humanity offers a small bit of hope for justice. The road ahead is dangerous, but the Venezuelan people are incredibly determined. They refuse to give up on their country, their dreams of a better future. Their struggle shows the power of hope, even in the darkest times. Why does the world cannot ignore Venezuela's plea? Venezuela's tragedy shows us that when a paradise is lost, the whole world can be affected. The ongoing humanitarian crisis, with so many people leaving the country, threatens the stability of nearby countries. The loss of democracy and human rights requires a united response from the world. We can't just watch while a country falls apart. We must help the Venezuelan people be heard, demanding an end to the violence, repression, and corruption that have hurt their country for so long. We must support efforts to help the millions of people suffering, and we must work together to find a peaceful and lasting solution that brings democracy and hope back to this once prosperous land. The fight for Venezuela is a fight for what is good in humanity. Let's not allow paradise to be lost forever. Did you know the symbol behind the Venezuelan's flag? It is a true symbol of hope and resilience.